Jimmy's got to tell you this story when he was younger, when he was high on something.
Hey,
whoa.
No.
You were high on life. High on life. Joining me today are Patrick Karnahan and Jim Nelson, members of the Black Irish Band out of Sonora, California. The Black Irish Band write, produce, and perform historically accurate, original, and traditional songs and ballads. They perform both old and new music in many styles, including Celtic, Sicilian, Spanish, Railroad, Gold Rush, and Maritime. Founded in 1989, the band has delivered 27 albums, more than 100 original songs, and almost 200 videos. My first question for you guys is, what is your favorite death metal band? If you don't know, I can give you some suggestions. No?
You know, that's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Now, as far as
Sticks.
What?
Okay, which one of these is not a death metal band?
I'll show you. I'll say my favorite band is Metallica.
It's not death metal, but that's good.
I know that's metal, but see, I like Metallica because they did a cover of Whiskey in the Jar, which is one of the songs we've been doing long before.
Oh, love it. So, you know,
and I know they're metal, but that's, you know.
So we were talking, with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and they initiated who's going to go in next, and people saying whether it's all Bullocks or not, or outside the U.S. nobody counts, or whatever. I've heard all different things. One of the interesting takes was this journalist fella, and he said he liked about it was that it brought relevancy back to musicians and gave him something to write and talk about. And I like the idea of that. But Thin Lizzy is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it's kind of like, seriously, guys, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah.
How?
I know. It's crazy. It's very political. I know.
Well,
yeah.
Maybe that should be a badge of honor that they're not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, you know what? We're bothered by is Canada. Okay, we're folk musicians. Technically, if you want to classify our music, it's folk, Celtic, Americana. There's no airplay for us anymore. As soon as the college stations went down 20 years ago, there's no release except for podcasts or people, have these little small stations and, BF Egypt. And it's sad because they don't really honor this kind of music. Even at the Grammys, they usually always have it before it's broadcasted, like the Native American folk bluegrass. It's not important. That's not. When you go,
you
to
guys
Canada,
get the mayonnaise commercial.
Yeah, when you go to Canada,
what you missed was.
Yeah, in Canada they have the Juno Awards, which totally honors their folk, their music, their culture, and it's like. Yeah. If it ain't hip hop, or if you're not under, 25 years old, you're not even be relevant. And that's not true because, you look at YouTube, I look at our hits we get people from all over the world. Young people, old people know Black Irish band music. And that's a world audience. But in the US, with the people growing up, they don't get really this music that often. And it's reflected a lot the way we present it at these award shows. It's all hip hop. It's all that. Even rock and roll and heavy metals, it's not even relevant anymore. They don't even look at the thing with Eddie Van Halen. It's just like, it's not that important. And, he was a master of what he did. And, it's funny how the culture of music has changed. And we feel that our music is not represented really at all in our mainstream media, it's just kind of sad.
Canada's got like Gordon Lightfoot and Joni Mitchell. I mean, they kind of came out of the gate swinging for home runs.
Oh yeah, they're
Neil Young.
Yeah. So, oh well.
All right, Jim, what were you trying to say? Something? We interrupted Jim.
No, well, I was just going to say that the good thing about the last 20 years or so is, YouTube and Facebook, these other online media sources to communicate with people has brought such a large audience to us, because I do look at the demographic and see people downloading music in Japan, or Russia, and you thought, wow, I didn't know people would even really like our music, but they do. Like we have a Celtic site in Germany, and they're big fans of our music and they play it all the time. They like it. And it's nice that other countries find this kind of music still relevant enough to promote it. And, so we're lucky in that way because we stay alive, relevant. We still make money, believe it or not, through digital downloads, which is great.
It's hard though. You got to have a lot of downloads to make a buck.
You do, yeah. What do you get? Somebody's like, you got.
That's what we made, $1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was gonna say it's not a lot.
A million downloads, you get $10. You know.
Yeah, on a
But
good
people
day.
do buy physical CDs. Yeah. So.
All right. So after I messed with Patrick here for a while, I'm like, is this video Jim? Is that video Jim? He's like, that's not Jim. We're in the Black Irish Band. Here's our link. I'm like, how about this one? Is this one Jim? But those guys were good. I sent you that bluegrass stuff was good. What do you say?
I be Patrick, that be Jim, banjo player.
It was great. How about this one? Is that Jim? All right, I do have, so, okay, a few things. Michael Martin Murphey did the song Into the Fire with you guys. Right. And he also wrote What Am I Doing Hanging Around for the Monkees, which
that's right, yeah.
I like the Monkees. And so how did you run into that guy and how did you guys decide to work together?
Well, it happened with, we live up here in the Gold Rush country, just north of Yosemite.
Was it cowboy poetry? Is that when you?
No, it had to do with more, he got a job working at a casino up here, a single night. And I had a friend that his name was Nick. He was the booking agent for the casino, and he mentioned that Michael Martin Murphey was coming up my way. And I had just written this song Into the Fire. And I said, would you mind approaching Michael Martin Murphey? Because, you know, he's pretty well known in the folk cowboy circuit. And it recently just did some recording for that program. I think it's called America Heartland, which was on PBS Channel 6. And he wrote the theme song for it. So I said, could you connect me with him? Because we've written this song and we'd like to get it out there in honor of men and women who are wildland firefighters. And so he said, yeah. So he talked to him in the booking and said, hey, I got this friend Patrick, they got this band. Would you mind doing this? And they're going to try to do some fundraising for the Wildland Firefighting Foundation. So it worked out okay. He did his gig. And then the very next morning, like at 7 a.m, we took him to the recording studio. So in the studio, first time he ever really saw the music. And so we're trying to, you know, get in all that. And that's how we recorded it. But it continued on from there because then we got along pretty well with him. And he said, how would you guys like to join me on the road for a little mini tour? I'm going to Sacramento and then I'm going to head over to Carson City. Would you like to continue and maybe play some songs with me? So we became friends. And then over the years, we would play together occasionally. And then in 2012, there was a large fire in Colorado called the Waldorf Fire. And he called me, I was in Hawaii, and he said, hey, can you come back? We're doing this huge fundraiser, and there's going to be it's broadcasted to 6 million people. And it was, I think in Colorado Springs. And he said, we want to record one of your songs with the Colorado Symphony Orchestra. And we're going to do Into the Fire, and then we'll do this other song I wrote called South Canyon with the full orchestra. And I said, awesome. So I flew back to Hawaii, from Hawaii. We went to Colorado, and then we performed at the World Event Center there. And it was broadcasted 6 million people. And it raised, thousands of dollars for people who had lost their homes. So that was probably the last big thing we did with Murphy. We
can't get a video of that. You're trying to get a video.
Yeah, I'm still trying to get a video of that.
Anybody has a video out there of that performance.
6 million people, but I called the TV company. There was 6 television stations covering it. I cannot get a copy of that video of the orchestra performing that song.
Anybody have one?
Yeah. And what was really cool, when he did Into the Fire, which is not like the video that's out there now, he just rearranged it from where we recorded it years earlier. And he did it more of a dramatic ballad, like a reading. And he did it with so much passion. I'd love to get a recording of it. I think he did it. I mean, I wrote the songs, but the way he interpreted and rearranged it was awesome. And I'd love to get a recording of him doing that. And he only did it that one time. And, but that's how we connected with Murphy. And we haven't talked to him in a while. And we know he's still doing lots of cowboy shows in Texas and all that. And, that's it.
That's cool. All right. So for 15 years, you worked for the USDA Forest Service as a seasonal firefighter. And we kind of just talked about it briefly, but why did you get into becoming a fireman in the first place? What was going on in your life?
Yeah, it was out of high school. I just kind of grew up in kind of a bad situation. I was hanging around the wrong people. There was drugs, drinking, all that good stuff. I also played trumpet, and I was playing I grew up in Hawthorne, that area. And then I was playing with a group in Compton, California. And I I played trumpet at the time at a high school, and we were playing, Parliament, Rick James stuff, and all. Hard to believe, right, folk singer, but that's what I played. I played first trumpet, Tower Power, Chicago, that kind of stuff. And so I was the only Caucasian in the band, which was interesting. But the band, when we collected, we got together. There was a lot of smoking, a lot of drinking, and it got to the point where my parents said, basically, you want to live in this household, you will not play with that group anymore. Because a lot of times they'd be dropping me off on the front lawn at 3 a.m. Neighbors would call, I think there's somebody in your front lawn. And it was a bad scene for me. So I had the opportunity to work with a program called the Young Adult Conservation Corps up in this area. And I
were really kind of afraid of you. I mean, your dad was a war veteran, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's very strict. I love my dad. But, they laid the rule down, said, son, if you're not going to go to college, you're drinking and all that stuff's got to end. You're out of here. Yeah. So I had an opportunity to take a job up here, North Yosemite, working for this program that the government had for troubled youth, kind of like the California Conservation Corps. So I learned the basics of forestry. I worked on fire reduction, fuel break work. And then the very next year, I got hired by the U.S. Forest Service as a firefighter. Oh. And I continued on, and I worked 22 seasons, not consecutively, but 22 seasons as a Class 2 wildland firefighting crew, and then also on fire engines. And then finally, I worked into fire prevention, which I actually might be going back on a special detail, working for the Forest Service, training fire prevention officers up in the Grand Tetons. So I'm still connected with firefighting, even though I'm an old guy. And Jimmy's also a firefighter too. He did firefighting when he was younger. So yeah, that's our connection. And of course, our music. The thing about our band is it's Americana loosely, has a lot of Celtic, but we have well over 100 original songs, and a lot of them songs relate to things we've done in our lives, hence the music about wildland firefighting. Yeah.
So as an artist or as an enthusiast, I know you love your trains. So how come the trains are cooler than the fire trucks, man? What the heck?
I do both. In fact, okay. I did a painting. They're just retiring the 747, which has been used, global air tanker. It's been in the news because a lot of people are upset because the contract wasn't renewed with CAL FIRE, and they're going to convert it back to just a regular transport plane. But I actually did a painting of that, which I've been putting on the internet right now to let folks know about it. And but I've been painting wildland fighting scenes for well over 20 years. Along with the steam locomotives, the railroad history, because I actually worked for the railroad for 10 years too. So,
okay, what did you do?
Yeah, I paint both because it's part of my life, And Jimmy here is a San Francisco cab driver, but yet I don't see him painting pictures of cabs yet.
Yeah. Do you have any Harry Chapin type stories?
I mean, every cab driver's got stories,
I said in one, it was every actor is working as a waiter, but all writers are taxi cab drivers. You get better stories.
Jimmy's got to tell you this story when he was younger, when he was high on something.
Hey,
whoa.
No.
You were high on life.
No, I was in college.
What happened?
I knew better.
But if you ever want to he's thinking about, now, Joel, we're a working band. He's thinking about going to back to driving cab in San Francisco.
Renew my permit.
And the great thing about Jimmy here, he knows more about the history of San Francisco than probably anybody living or dead. He'll tell you where the historic buildings are.
Don't build me up that much.
He'll tell you that this building is one of the few buildings from the gold rush that's still there. He says this area was built up afterwards. This man is the answer, man. And he's had some really cool people in his cab too.
So what's the allure of going back to driving a cab?
What's that?
What's the allure to wanting to go back and driving?
I don't know. I did it for 43 years.
Wow.
I want to see if I can still make a buck at it, But I don't know. Before I die, I want to say I drove for every cab company in San Francisco.
So what are some of the kookiest characters that got into the taxi cab?
Oh God, it's like every night was a different goofball. It's like you can never tell. So
my buddy was a taxi cab driver in Santa Barbara. He kind of got pushed to the wayside because of Uber a couple of years ago.
The industry's dying.
It's dad,
There's-
yeah.
there's
He had
nothing-
good stories. He had, it's Santa Barbara, so it's college town. So some girl getting, I'll show you my tits if I don't have to pay. And I'll be like, yeah, tell that to my landlord. It's $18.
No.
And I'll be like, that's a real conversation. He'd be like, oh yeah, all the time.
No, they show you their tits and they don't care. They'll still pay.
That's what he actually said. That's what he would say to me.
One girl, I was picking one girl up from they were trying to flag a cab after Beta Breakers. It used to be a big day they did. It's a big foot race called Beta Breakers in San Francisco. And they wind up at the ocean and they run. And afterwards they have a little bit of celebration. And then there's cabs, they want a cab. They're waiting for the bus or something like that. And it's like, they're all waiting for cabs. And it's like, there's hardly any cabs. And so they're coming up and the girls were like lifting their skirts up over their heads, to flag down the cab, stuff like that.
I bet it worked.
Yeah.
I bet it worked. So, where are you from originally then? Okay, Jim, are you a California guy too originally?
Yeah, well, I was born in Iowa, but I grew up in San Diego.
So why did you guys pick I think your strongest instrument would be the squeeze box or the trumpet maybe? I don't know. What do you think would be?
No,
He plays those. He plays those.
When I started with the band, we've been together 31 years. I started playing the banjo and octomandolin. And then, as people come and go in the band, some people are better at certain things. So always you go with the strong points. Jimmy joined the band over 21 years ago. And not only does he play banjo guitar, but he also plays the stand-up acoustic bass.
So, I've never seen you do that. That's super cool.
Well, that's the early days. It all happened. The band got double booked. We got a booking doing a special celebration for an Indian tribe in northeastern California. At the same time we took that booking, then we got a call from the White Pass and Yukon Railroad in Alaska, which we had played the previous year. And they said, we're doing our anniversary with the Royal Mounted Police at a place called Carcross, Yukon. We want your band, because the builder of the railroad, Michael Heaney, was an Irishman who the Canadian company and American company had hired. And they said, we want to honor him because we know you do railroad music and you do Irish. And I said, oh, wow, that's great. I said, oh no, we got another gig. So it was the first time and only time in history we franchised the band into two units. One band went up to northeastern California. The other band went to Alaska. But to do that, we had to bring in new players, hence Jim, who I knew played acoustic bass. So he came in the very first time, this 2000, and he played the bass. And we had two rehearsals. We went up there and I took two other members of the band, and we played that gig for 7 days, and it was a blast. At the same time, we learned more about Jimmy and his banjo playing. So then when he got back and the band got together, then we put him on banjo. At that point, then I no longer had to play banjo, and I went back to guitar and the squeeze box. So, and that's the way it's stayed over the years. We always try to go a complement of four members. If there's a fifth member, it's usually a fiddle player. And sometimes, depending on the job and the music, we do have a drummer that we bring up occasionally. Yeah.
Okay. So are you playing any Rick James lately?
Rick James? Not really. There's a couple Parliament songs I'd still like to do, but
name one. What's your favorite? We'll see if we can work on it.
Rick James or Parliament?
I know back in the day when I was working the band at the Compton, I remember one time we got so high. Sorry I'm saying this, but got so high that
don't do this, all you youngsters.
And they had me, and I'm playing the trumpet.
It's a music podcast. Unfortunately, there's a lot of.
Let me tell you, Joel, getting high and playing the trumpet doesn't work too well. Now, playing the guitar, or piano, those kind of instruments, drums maybe, trumpet, sax, I don't think so. So, anyways, the mother that was producing the group, I had some connection with the Jackson 5. I don't know what she said that, but I don't know. But so they handed me the chart, and it was Sir Duke. Sir Duke, it was written by Stevie Wonder, and I look at that chart. It has done and I'm high, and I go like, no way, it ain't happening. And I really analyzed, maybe getting high and playing the trumpet is not a good idea, So anyway, so that's
that'd be good. A list of instruments that you can't play high because it's just too hard.
Well, Louis Armstrong was quite a marijuana smoker.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, I don't think drinking too much and playing a horn instrument is not good. I mean, because,
You got to do the right drugs.
horn instruments require so much of your diaphragm, and your embouchure. And as you get more high and drunk or whatever, your lips start to loosen up a bit, and it affects you. I don't know. I couldn't play with a darn when I was drinking or smoking, let's say. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you did some like weightlifting or bodybuilding at some point in your life, no?
Just through firefighting, just trying to keep in shape.
Stay
for fire
fit.
season.
Okay.
Every year you have to take a endurance training they call a pack test. We'll wear a 40-pound pack, and you have to go so long, and you have to finish in a certain amount of time. So usually before going to the fire season, usually 2 months out, I'd be working out with weights, and then we both cross-country ski to get in shape. So, you work out a little bit, and then in high school I wrestled, and I was also into bodybuilding a little bit.
We both do free weights a little bit.
Free weights.
Yeah, we do free weights. Free weights are the best. Man. Free weights are great.
But it doesn't get rid of the belly that I have right now. I got the old beer belly,
It's hard to get rid of, but beer is so good.
I'll tell you, at 62, it's hard to get rid of the beer belly. I don't know. There's no magic secret. And I certainly ain't going to get no stomach, gastric bypass. I don't think that's good.
Wow, you're not that big. I think that's for big.
I'm probably hard on myself.
Yeah, I think you're a little hard on yourself. Why is it so important for you guys to chronicle history through your music?
Well, we feel that a lot of history, as far as the genre of folk singing, songwriting,
folk singers,
we try to fill in gaps along the way to we're not bringing out all the stories, but we're bringing out interesting stories. Usually they relate more to the industries, where people work the hard labor jobs. Maritime music is big with us, of course, with Nathan from Scotland, who did the Whalerman, which is all over TikTok and all that. That's
the year of the sea shanty.
The year of the sea shanty. We've been doing sea shanty since the get-go. So that's popular, working on the sea. And we both have maritime background too, an interest in the ocean and ships. And then also railroading. I worked for the railroad. Firefighting, both been firefighters. Tried my hand at gold mining for a while. So these are things we do in our life. And so along the way.
You find any gold?
Nah, not really. I wasn't very good at it, but it's still here. In fact, my ranch, they say that some of the richest gold deposits are right underneath. I have a 120-acre ranch. Some of the richest gold deposits are still there, but they're so hard to get to. That's it. They got all the easy gold back then, but now it's not so easy.
What weight did you wrestle in high school?
Yeah. So we write songs and do songs which have to do with our life, what we do in occupations, and relate to where we live in our history. Like we like to present music from this particular area. Like we do a whole set of gold rush songs that were popular, like Stephen Foster stuff that dates back to the 1850s, that type of stuff. And then we throw in other songs over the years. I mean, I've just written a song a little while ago about Grizzly Adams, who lived in this area. His cabin was only probably, as the crow flies, about 50 miles from here back in the 1850s. So I wrote a song about him because I wanted to put the record straight. It's quite different than the TV program because he was probably the most knowledgeable person about the California grizzly, which is extinct now since 1924, but yet it's on the California state flag and it is the California state mammal. And a lot of people don't know about the California grizzly. And it wasn't the same bear necessarily as the bear that lives today in Montana, Alaska. It didn't hibernate a lot of times because it was warm in California. And you'd even find it down in your neck of the woods where you live in Southern California. Be found down all the way down San Diego. You could see grizzly bears on the ocean. So he was this interesting man that a lot of folks didn't know about, and he trained grizzly bears. And so
was he actually a little guy and not the big guy on TV?
He was fairly tall, but he was kind of skinny. He wasn't that Dan Haggerty guy. Yeah, he wasn't like the big guy. And he certainly didn't really live in the Rockies, which they portray him on the TV show as a guy who lives like high in the Rocky Mountains. But he lived right here in California. Just
must have been cheaper to film there.
Yeah, 50 miles from here, he had a cabin, and I think
he was like a John Muir stretched out.
Yeah. And John Muir wrote a song about John Muir years ago about his life up here. So there's people in history that kind of fit our geographic area. chances are maybe we'll write a song. We find it interesting and we want to get some new information out there. Yeah.
What about what's his name? The writer, the Calaveras flag, Mark Twain.
Mark Twain, yeah.
Gotta write a Mark Twain song. Talk about a fun character.
Oh man,
there's no record of him speaking. They don't. So, and it's interesting. So when you read a book, the voice of the author might be a little different, depending, especially with him. There's such a large catalog of material. So the only way they know how he spoke was from a neighbor of his. The neighbor was a little kid who became an actor and would actually perform as him, and he would mimic his voice. And that's the closest they think he actually sounded like.
He lived long enough to where they could have recorded his.
They could have.
They did wax recordings, but I guess he just never did.
Just never happened. But
he was past that point.
Yeah, I like books on tape are so popular now. And if you've never listened to Charlton Heston narrate The Old Man and the Sea, you have to do it. But can you imagine him narrating one of his books? Oh, it must have been so much fun because he's such a character.
You have to get Hal Holbrook to do it.
Hal Holbrook, yeah.
Great.
We write songs. I wrote a song dedicated to John Steinbeck. He's one of our California writers, born here in Salinas, California. Wrote a song about him. And,
so he has a book that I guess they haven't released. It's a book about a werewolf, and his estate won't release the book.
It was his genre that he wasn't known for at all.
Exactly. So the sci-fi guys, the monster guys, and all that, they'd love to check it out. Now I want to because you're not allowed to. So of course you want to read it. But apparently he was fine with it. He didn't think there was anything wrong with the book, but they won't release it for whatever reason. But I love John Steinbeck.
They will.
Eventually.
When the money's right.
Well, it's been a long time though. It's been a long time and they haven't done it. But I don't know. He had a way of writing.
Isn't it the family that doesn't want it released or something like that?
Well, presumably they run his estate, but I couldn't tell you. I wouldn't know. But I read Tortilla Flats a couple of years ago, and it's just such a great book. Some of the ones that are not the biggest, most well-known, and you're still reading it going, wow, what a luxury, man. This guy was so good.
Yeah.
A little bit of fun. Have you ever heard of Wassily Kandinsky? He's an artist, Patrick.
I believe so.
He's a Russian artist. I'll tell you why I bring it up. So Wassily Kandinsky literally saw colors when he heard music and heard music when he painted. He deployed color, line, shape, and texture to create a rhythmic visual experience that evoked an emotional response. Not surprisingly, Kandinsky gave many of his paintings musical titles such as composition or improvisation. So he's a really big, well-known guy. He was a Russian fella, and I think the idea of it was you look at his paintings and you hear music by visually seeing color. You're a realist, right? I would say you're a realist. That's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Well, as a songwriter, I mean, I certain song, when I write a song, approach a song, like I wrote a song called In the High Sierra. I wrote it back in 1995. And when I wrote the song, I visualized the chords. When the chords were there, it presented a picture to me. I visualized the chords, visualized what I was conveying. It's like, this is the waterfall chord. This is this feeling of a hawk looking down over this. That's how I write a lot of songs. I don't know if we can.
Yeah, go for it. As I say, it's like John Denver sounding here. I heard John Denver.
It's interesting. It starts out like, let's see. It goes from a C major seventh, 2.5 major seventh. Then it goes to a B flat, E flat, C minor, to F. That's a weird change, but and the words go, I remember, let's get here. Oh gosh, now I gotta remember it. I gather my memories of times that I knew. The longest of summers was sky so blue, with families and friends that have now gone away, deep in my heart, forever to stay. And every chord that I write, I think of those things that I say. I see it, I visualize, I see Boy Scouts, family, camping at a campfire. The chords to me, that's how I see it, you know. And sometimes when I write a song, like you say, I see colors too, because I'm an oil painter. And so I see certain things like, and a lot of times that's how a song comes to me. Not necessarily always with the words, but I'll just be somewhere and I'll just come up with this. Like I wrote a song, I have a second home on the ocean, and I wrote a song this summer called The Mighty Sea. And I was just with my guitar. I do a lot of my walking with the small guitar in the ocean.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, words came to me, you know, and I'm just saying, I talk to the ocean. I sound silly. He said, give me these chords. He goes, and so on. And I'm walking and I go, thank you for that. And that's how it came to me. It's
cool.
Like I asked for it. It's amazing sometimes. Like I wrote one song, it was in my dream. I heard this melody and then I woke up with it and I wrote it down. So it's interesting how certain things connect with you. You know?
I love the idea of it all. I think it's I like the interlacing idea. I think it's great.
That's it's amazing how the brain, you know, fires that stuff out. But it's well,
what's the Paul? There's a Paul McCartney song that came to him in his dream and he woke up and wrote it. I forget. It's one of, I'm going to say the biggest, but it's the Beatles. I mean, it's kind of, I don't know. They're all.
It doesn't always.
Yesterday.
I think it might have been, actually. I think you might be right. I think yesterday came while he was sleeping. He woke up and he
called it ham and eggs. Ham and eggs. That's what they say. They say the first.
That was the original.
That is apropos, ham and eggs, just like the bacon yesterday.
I love all that stuff.
Now I'm looking for some sausage to get away.
You say in your mid-20s, you went to Ireland for the first time, Patrick. So
yeah.
What gave you such a great impression that really made you have this, you know, profound respect for Ireland? Why did it make such an impact on you going there?
I think when I went to Ireland, and it's probably the reason why I definitely got into this kind of music. Up to that point, I'd only played brass instruments. I played trumpet, trombone, and French horn in the orchestra. And I wasn't into folk. I wasn't really into folk music, not really my thing. And like I told you, I was playing, you know, Parliament and, you know, Tower of Power with Wind and Fire stuff. You know, I was into that. But when I went to Ireland, the reason I go to Ireland is because my dad's family and all my mom's side is from Ireland or they're from Scotland. So, you know, I had sold a painting and I had enough money to go there just on a shoestring budget. So I flew there, had no plans, and I did rent a car and I just drove throughout Ireland. And I would end up in these pubs, you know.
Did you go by were you by yourself when you're doing this?
Yes, it was. Yeah. All my journeys to Ireland till more recently have always been by myself. And that's good to go, you know, you're a young 20 guy, you know,
sure.
In Paris kind of thing. And then you, people take you in because you're easy to take in. You're just one person. Two is a little complicated. And you meet it, like the first night I was in Dublin, I had got on the DART, which is Dublin Area Rapid Transit. And I didn't know where I was going in Dublin, but I needed a place to stay. It was late in the evening. I just earlier hooked up with some Welsh girls and had a pretty interesting afternoon drinking. I was a little drunk and I got on the DART and I said, I'm going to get off here and look for a place to stay. Well, I got off and it was the industrial part of Dublin. And there was a guy there with a lunch pail with a thick brogue. He's like, you look like you're lost. I go, yeah, is there a place to stay here? I go, no, you're in one. You Yank, you know? I go, yeah, I'm a Yank. He's like, oh, so you're looking for a place to stay? And I go, yeah. Oh, come with me. You can stay with me and the missus. What? You know, like in America, that never happens, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I tagged along with him. He took me to the house. He lived like these kind of flats, you know, they call them, you know, more of a working class home. Became instant friend. Went to the pub that night. It was the size of a Safeway. You know, we're drinking. Everybody, hey, give him another pint. Give him another pint. You know, and about, 8 pints in, I couldn't even understand what they were saying. And I know they couldn't understand what I was saying because, you know, their language goes quick, that our accent. So went to Ireland, enjoyed myself. That was my first night. But continue on around Ireland. I'd go to these pubs, people playing music, people singing, like hundreds of people in a bar, singing loud, packed in there like sardines, playing guitars, playing banjos, you know. I don't have anything to offer.
You know, the thing I remember from Ireland, Kansas City actually too, is you walk into these bars and they're good, like really, really, really good. And so, I mean, I don't know how you wouldn't have an influence, especially as a musician. How? I mean,
No, I know that got me stuck. So when I came home, first thing I do is I buy a secondhand banjo and an octave mandolin, which is mandolin just a little larger, but because my hands are kind of hard to do a mandolin. So an octave mandolin, a little bit bigger fretboard, and just started learning basic chords, just strumming stuff, you know. And then one thing led to another. Then now I can play an instrument and sing along with other people.
Yeah.
And then one thing leads to another, that I meet other musicians, and then I end up, or you know, now we got a band, you know.
Yeah. How did you get into playing the banjo, Jim?
Oh, well, I played guitar for years and years, and
banjo's a lot harder, I've been told. Banjo's a lot more difficult, I've been told.
Banjo? More difficult than guitar? No. No, I disagree.
Just spell that myth.
It's kind of like it's kind of easier. And well, I mean, it all depends on your thing, because I was a guitar player, so I was a finger picker.
Okay.
I never used a flat pick. I played with my fingers. So you use that when you play in 5-string banjo. You use your fingers a lot. You either frail or you do bluegrass style. So I was going to learn to play bluegrass, and I got a banjo, but I had a guitar, and there's a lot of guitar players out there, and they were all better than me. So I decided to pick up the banjo to do something a little bit different.
Interesting.
There's not a lot of banjo players out there too, by the way. So, but anyway.
I got a cool one here. I don't know how to play, but I got a, it's a 64 Gibson. And it's a beautiful thing.
It's a bluegrass type of banjo, resonator.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's interesting though is like it's heavy, man. Playing that. You got
the resonator.
Tell me about it. We had to tour. He's got a Deering. That's what he used to play.
In California.
He's got a Deering resonator. We toured Montana with it. My back was killing me.
It kills you. Yeah. It's
I use an open back, I got a long neck open back.
Can you show him the banjo? Can you reach out without knocking over the computer? This is the banjo. He just bought a $4,000 banjo.
Yeah, about $4,000. About 110-year-old banjo. That's not what.
Oh, that's awesome.
Come your banjo.
This is a folk, but this is like a folk banjo.
So that's the 100-year-old one that you're holding?
What's that?
That's the 110-year-old one, or
no? Not this. This is
okay.
This is,
so how many banjos do you have?
Huh?
How many do you own? How many banjos do you have?
Do I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I think I got a 6th one in pieces somewhere.
That's great. David Rainwater got his stuff back, didn't he? Remember someone took his they took his violin, right?
He got everything back, but I hope he did.
Back. Yeah, that was sad.
That was not cool. Yeah.
So I started doing. I'm not gonna do a concert. I was just gonna. That's frailing.
I love it.
Sounds like Cripple Creek.
So that's a little sample of frailing, which is what I got. I wanted to play bluegrass, but I wound up getting into frailing and old timey. Now I do a little. I can put on the picks and do some Celtic tunes and stuff like that, and play a little bluegrass tricks.
You know, it's funny. I saw a lot of stuff on eBay, and some fella. So what happens when you ship it out of the country? I can ship it to eBay's global shipping center. So it all goes to Tennessee, and they actually then they send it to whomever or wherever. And as a seller, I don't know. So I don't know what happened, but in transit, some guy in Scotland, instead of getting, let's say, the book I sold him, whatever it was, he wrote me this great email. He goes, I found you sent me something by accident. We've looked it up and we've discovered it's an American banjo. So he's like, but I did not order a banjo, but it's a lovely instrument. And it was funny because when I called into eBay, I'm like, we have an issue here. And he got to keep the banjo. So he was all excited. He goes, what a great story. So I wonder if this old banjo from the States is now in somebody's hands in Scotland and they're practicing to learn how to play at some point.
Well, I bought this banjo from Elderly Instruments, and it was one I'd been looking for. It's in the banjo, old-time banjo. It's a Fairbanks Vega No. 2, made by the Vega Company in Boston in 1910. And the last one I saw that was like this, they wanted $10,000 for it. So when I saw this thing for $3,500, I bought it immediately because I had
figured it out. So the neck's never been broken?
On the old one?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole instrument. You got to imagine something.
That's solid. As a matter of fact, I had it reworked. It had friction pegs, which is impossible to tune, to keep in tune. So I updated the tuners on it. And the guy took it to John in Amazing Grace Music in San Anselmo, who's a banjo player. He called it a working man's Vega. It's a solid neck. It's in really good. It's in terrific shape. It's really solid.
Built to last.
Yeah.
Built to last. What a fantastic.
I don't use it for gigs. I use it for old-timey sessions. This is my gig banjo here.
Cool. Well, do you guys want to play something for us? I don't know if you're up for it, but it'd be cool. You are holding your guitar.
Okay, well, we can do something. Let's do something like, want to do something from the California Gold Rush country? Do you want to do Soniano?
We can play a little bit of it. I guess
this song
it's a 3-part harmony, but we'll have to do two parts for now.
We don't have Steve here. Steve's another old-time member of the band. He plays accordion and guitars. He's not here. We'll get it. It's called Soniano. This song dates back in late 1840s. Yeah. It talks about General Santa Anna during the Mexican-American War and about coming to California during the gold rush. There's a reference. Also can be done as a sea shanty.
It is a sea shanty. You want to give him, just give him like a couple of verses?
Yeah, we'll just give it a couple verses, of course. How's that sound? Okay.
Sounds awesome.
Based on the Kingston Trio arrangement.
Ready?
A little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Across the river from Liverpool, keep away, Santiano, and we run and keep pouring for the Frisco Bay. Way out in California, and it's fever up, and away we'll go. Keep away, Santiano, fever up, and away we'll go. Way out in California, with a fast little ship and a bonny good crew. Heave away, Soniano, and down the Yankee for a skipper. Way out in California, and it's fever up, and away we'll go. Heave away, Soniano, fever up, and away we'll go. Way out in California.
That was great. Thank you.
2 verses.
It's the year of the sea shanty. Remember now.
What album is that on?
The Whaler Man. What's that? The Whaler Man?
What'd you say?
I said, what album? What album?
That's off our album, which was our 25th album. Give Us All Your Whiskey.
So if I want to buy other albums, where do I find you guys?
The easiest way is you can just go on, just Google us. We're all over the internet.
Black Irish Band.
Just Black Irish Band.
Actually, I should have asked you in the get-go. What does the Black Irish Band mean? We should say it for people.
Black Irish Band. The reason we picked the name is Black Irish, according to historians, has to do the intermarriages between Spanish and Irish. This dates back to the Spanish Armada, which was defeated by the English. And a lot of the Spanish sailors that survived were afraid to go back to Spain because of Spanish Inquisition. So a lot of them stayed in Ireland, which was a Catholic nation, and stayed there, and they intermarried with the Irish. Their offspring were called the offspring of the Black Irish, the union between Irish women and Spanish men. But on the East Coast, it's also known as when the Italians and Irish intermarry, they're also known as the Black Irish. That's why we picked the name, because original founding member of the band, Richard Restivo, who passed on in 2017, was full-blooded Sicilian.
Yeah, I loved. What was the song he used to play every time?
Yeah.
I loved it. He did it so. He was so good at it.
Oh man, he'd sing those songs, the Cello Luna, man.
That's the one.
We were the only band that probably did Irish Italian music. We missed him so much. He was so.
But he was, he'd stand up and play it, and with the biggest smile, he was so proud to play it. And I love that guy. He was a school teacher, wasn't he?
He was good. He died at 64 years old.
Middle school.
Rough.
Yeah. School. He was my best friend, and I miss him. I really do.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear it. I really loved watching him play, though. I love watching all you guys play, but he was a special guy, man.
So right now we're kind of in transition. We're actually we're kind of training up a new acoustic stand-up bass player who actually is part Apache Native American. So he might be joining the band, I think, at the Celtic Fair coming up on Father's Day weekend. So that'll be the first time that he's performed with us, and his name is Eric Quinn.
Okay.
So he'll be joining us on bass, and he sings too. He likes the Black Irish Band, and he's performed with us before.
Cool.
And he filled in for us. So so we'll have a new bass player, Dave Rainwater, who you mentioned earlier to the folks. He will be coming down. He moved up to South Sound, Oregon, which is way up there, but he is coming down to perform with us again at the Celtic Fair on June 19th.
And what is this Celtic fair you speak of that I might have gone to many times?
Oh, yes, the Celtic Fair.
The Celtic celebration.
Yeah.
We can't call it the fair because
originally
restrictions.
Yeah. When I started the Celtic,
not a fair. It is a fair, but it's not a fair.
When I started the Celtic Fair it'd be 35 years ago when I was in my 20s. Originally, the Celtic Fair was to celebrate the cultures of Ireland, Scotland, Cornwall, Wales, but it's more than that because the Celtic cultures once existed throughout Western Europe, the Ukraine, Austria, parts of the Pyrenees Alps, France, Galicia. So that's what it is, celebration of that culture, the music, the dance, the living history. And so
opportunity to wear your kilt.
Yeah. And some people like you can wear a pirate outfit sometimes.
Maybe might have been a pirate, might have been.
We have Vikings that show up because they have a lot to do with Celtic history, the intermarriages and all that. So it's a great fair. It usually attracts about 10,000 people. We moved it this year, the date and the location. We moved the date because of COVID, because normally it took place the second week of March, but because of the COVID restrictions being in the purple tier, there's no way you can put an event on. And also the California CDC, I think they call it, they said you couldn't call it a fair or festival. So we had to change the name. Believe it or not, in 35 years, we changed it to a celebration. So it's now called the Celtic Heritage Celebration. And if you go online and Google that, we pop up. And it'll be our 35th year. It's 2 days. Not only our band's playing, but the ever famous Wicked Tinkers will be there, pipes and drums. We have the Young Dubliners from LA, which is one of the greater rock Celtic bands. Young Dubliners will be there. Tempest, pioneers of that Celtic rock, similar to Jethro Tull, they'll be there. We have more traditional groups like The Fire, Golden Bough. Lot to see, bagpipe bands. If you're into the culture,
Knights in Armor.
Always got Knights in Armor.
Is the Queen going to be there?
How about the Queen will be there.
How about Harry and Meghan?
Not the Queen of England. No. Mary, Queen of Scots, who lost her head, put her head back on. She'll be there too. Yeah, with her entourage.
She's got her head on straight.
We got like thousands of living people who wear costumes. But when you come to the event, you don't have to wear a costume. You could, but you don't have to.
So where do I get a ticket again? Tell me one more time.
Just go to the website. Just go to, you can go to, just put in Celtic Fair. It used to be called the Sonora Celtic Fair, but we moved to Angel's Camp, which is only a half hour north. The reason we moved mainly was because of parking. And Sonora,
it's beautiful up there.
Which is a skate facility, only had parking for 300 cars. So we used to have to shuttle people in. Well, now at Calaveras, Angel's Camp, the Frog Jump Fairgrounds, there's parking for 10,000 cars. So we have no problem with people parking. It's a 2-day event. We have whiskey tasting. We have like over 100 vendors. You want to buy a kilt, Joel? You want to get musical instruments? You want to get a Viking helmet with horns? Even Joel, we could get a sword.
I need all of it.
Plastic or real.
Pikes,
halberds, you name it. You can have traditional food. We have, Scottish, meat pies, or you can have Welsh.
We had a Welsh one. Yeah, we had Welsh cake last time.
Yeah, there's a Welsh tea room. I mean, it's the first one on the West Coast. Actually, first one Celtic Fair might be the first one in the country that was called a Celtic celebration. I mean, there's always been the Highland Games, which is Scottish, pure Scottish. Few Irish fairs, like the big one in LA, for instance. But the first one in America, according to Wikipedia, that was a Celtic reunion. So, which brings all the Celtic people, but it's all encompassing, inclusive of everybody. We have people from all cultures. I mean, Japanese people show up, Chinese. I mean, people from Mexico come up. You know, it's neat. It's everybody can be a part of the fair. You know, we loved all people. You know, it's just exposing this type of culture. But we have Native American dancers. Different tribes from American Indian Native groups that come. They come and dance with their full regalia, their headdresses, with bagpipers. It's the only place that ever took place that I know of.
I think a bagpiper should be welcome everywhere.
I think so too, especially you know at your house when you got guests over.
Not at 3:30 in the morning.
Especially when you have a hangover, and or a banjo player. Accordion.
Is that the only rule of the festival? Is no bagpiping at 3:30 in the morning?
Yeah.
There's a few others.
I've seen some Celtic shenanigans. We look forward to it every year. I do have one last thing to ask you guys. Sure. So I had, I was coming up with an idea of doing the podcast, and I was hanging out with some old buddies of mine, and one of them has a kid who's in 5th grade. It's a little girl in 5th grade, and her girlfriends were over, and they said, you need to ask your guests when they first felt famous. So to make it a broader look, you can either feel famous, but when did you first feel celebrity? When did you first feel good about yourself? When did you look out at an audience and think you were doing the right thing? What moment in your lives hits you where you kind of just smiled from ear to ear and thought, this is cool?
For me, it was in 2005 when we played at the Kennedy Center. When we were there specifically to do a program relating to conservation and the National Forest System. Me and Jim performed at the Kennedy Center. And to me, that's pretty late in our career. The band started back in 1989, but 2005, being selected to perform, to talk, to present for that genre and that event was good. To see your whole itinerary that you performed that night at the Smithsonian Institute. That's when I felt in my music, had reached a level, and nothing before that could compare to that. And Jimmy, what do you think?
I don't know. To me, there was never a moment. It was always kind of a gradual build into something, to feeling more comfortable.
Yeah.
And having somebody recognize something that you did. It's like, it's happened, a few times. Probably at an open mic one time when you do a song and people are just, the first you're just getting your stuff started, and I can't tell you exactly when, but you go to an open mic and people are like, wow, that was great. That was amazing. Yeah. When somebody says somebody says, oh, wow, that was so fantastic.
Can I add to that? This just happened recently. I wanted to that little girl. Another thing that happened just recently on May 10th, 2019, we were chosen by the National Park Service and the state of Utah to perform at the 150th anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad. We performed, they had bumped our time, and mind you, this is probably the largest live audience performed for. It's like 50,000 people. We performed on the stage, and they originally had our time slot earlier in the day, but it ended up we played at 1 o'clock. I had goosebumps because we played there at that spot, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on May 10th, 2019, 150 years prior to that. At that same time, that same day, that location, that's when the most famous picture in American history was taken, with the two locomotives together. And the reason why the big wigs that aren't in there, like Crocker and Hopkins and all them, like the ones that financed the project, that didn't build the railroad, they were already celebrating in a railroad car drinking champagne. And it just happened to be when the photographer got ready to set up his camera that they weren't in the picture. So it was right at 1 o'clock that photograph was taken with all the workers, the ones that actually built the railroad. And we got to play at that same time slot. Originally, we weren't going to play that slot, but then they bumped us that time. So it was almost kind of cool in a way that the dignitaries weren't there when we played our set, but yet that was the time when that photograph was taken, when the workers were there, we were there, and I felt a spirit there at that location. I don't know if you felt it, but it was incredible. We had the locomotives behind us, and it was just like Back to the Future, it's really cool.
That's very cool. I love it.
Yeah, that was neat. That was really cool.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come and talk. Yeah, bit of fun catching up. I haven't talked to you guys in a while, so
good to see you, and I'm glad you're doing good. Hope you come to the Celtic Fair. You know, come on up. You got free tickets.
Where are you?
I'm in LA, the Valley, San Fernando Valley.
You're where in LA? That's a big place.
Yeah, that's a big place.
Tarzana, does Tarzana mean anything?
What?
Tarzana.
Oh, sure.
He doesn't want to give too much
Tarzana.
information, or the old people will be.
The Johnny Weissmuller's old home.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's Tarzana. Yeah, it's where he lived. The guy who wrote Tarzan. What's his name? We should know this.
That's right. Yeah.
Burroughs. This is where Burroughs lived.
How's the weather down there
Edgar
today?
Rice.
I think it's nice. It was actually really overcast, and now it's nice. So we're going to a little pool thing. So we're gonna go hang out.
The opportunity. Yeah, we really enjoy it. We're blackirish.com on the internet. You can download our music and see it. We have over 100 music videos. We got a new album coming out shortly, and we're going to record it old-fashioned way. We're setting up a 4-track analog. So we're doing something completely retro, way back when, to technology. So that'll be hopefully coming out at the end of the summer. Brand new album.
Cool. I look forward to it.
Thank you, Joel.
All right. Go find some trouble.
We're going to go out there and hunt down some rattlesnakes. That's what
Oh, God, no thanks. Are you really? Will you eat them?
He almost stepped on one the other day. He was walking outside the trailer, and there's a bull.
Oh, hell no.
Can kill you and make you very sick. So
yeah, no thanks. I'm not a snake guy. So.
Okay.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you in a bit. Hey, thanks for watching Party Like a Rockstar. If you're not already subscribed to the Facebook or YouTube channels, do it. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. The handle is Party of Stars. Thanks for watching. See you next time.